What if I told you that the answer to your blood sugar problems isn't sitting in a pharmacy, it's sitting in your kitchen? I know that sounds bold. I know it sounds like the kind of thing you've scrolled past 100 times and written off as nonsense. But stay with me, because what I'm about to share is backed by real science, and it genuinely has the power to change your life. My name is Ava Harper. I'm a certified nutritionist and metabolic health coach with over a decade of experience helping people take back control of their health through food. I've worked with hundreds of clients, men and women who were told their blood sugar was too high to manage without medication, who were handed a Metformin prescription and sent home with a pamphlet. And I became obsessed with one question: what if food could do what that pill does, or do it even better? Spoiler alert, it can. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. Let me be clear about something before we go any further. I am not telling you to throw your medication in the trash. If you're on Metformin or any other diabetes medication, please do not stop taking it without talking to your doctor first. What I am giving you today is powerful, evidence-based information that I encourage you to bring into that conversation. Because the research is saying something that most doctors simply aren't telling their patients, and you deserve to know it. Here's the truth that changed everything for me and for my clients. Most people think high blood sugar is a sugar problem. They think, I eat too much sugar, my blood sugar goes up, simple. But that's only half the story. The real root cause for the vast majority of people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes is something called insulin resistance. And understanding that difference is everything. Think of insulin as a key and your cells as locked doors. When you eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises and your body releases insulin to unlock those cellular doors so glucose can flow in and be used for energy. In a healthy body, this works beautifully. But when you're insulin resistant, those locks become stiff and frozen. The key, insulin, is still being made, sometimes in excess, but it just can't open the doors efficiently anymore. Glucose builds up in the bloodstream. Blood sugar stays high. And over time, your pancreas exhausts itself trying to keep up. Metformin works by reducing the amount of glucose your liver dumps into your blood, particularly overnight, and by improving insulin sensitivity to some degree. It essentially tells your liver to calm down. And here's the extraordinary thing: certain foods accomplish the exact same thing, through the exact same molecular pathway. There's an enzyme in your body called AMPK, think of it as your master metabolic switch. When it's activated, your liver produces less glucose, your muscles become more insulin sensitive, and your blood sugar comes down. Metformin flips this switch pharmaceutically. But specific foods? They flip it naturally. And in some cases, more powerfully. Let's get into the 5 foods. I want you to understand not just what to eat, but why it works, because when you understand the mechanism, you actually do it consistently. Knowledge creates motivation that willpower never can. The first food is bitter melon. I know, not exactly what you were expecting. But hear me out, because the science on this one is extraordinary. Bitter melon, known botanically as Memordica carrantia, has been used in traditional medicine across Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean for over 3,000 years. And it turns out ancient wisdom was absolutely right. Bitter melon contains 3 distinct compounds with proven anti-diabetic activity. The first is polypeptide P, sometimes called plant insulin, which actually mimics the action of human insulin in the body and facilitates glucose uptake into cells. The second is charantin, which studies have shown to be more effective at lowering blood glucose than some older pharmaceutical agents. The third is vicine, another potent bioactive compound with glucose-lowering properties. Most remarkably, a study published in the journal Chemistry and Biology found that bitter melon activates AMPK, the same enzyme metformin activates, and it does so across the liver, muscle, and fat cells simultaneously. Metformin works primarily in the liver. Bitter melon casts a wider net. To use it daily, blend 2 to 3 ounces of bitter melon juice and drink it before your largest meal. Yes, it's bitter. But your palate adapts within 2 weeks, I promise. You can also slice it thin, soak it in salted water for 30 minutes to reduce the bitterness, and stir-fry it with garlic and olive oil. It's inexpensive, widely available in Asian grocery stores, and clinically remarkable. The second food you almost certainly already have in your kitchen, but you're probably not using it in the right form or the right amount. I'm talking about cinnamon. But not just any cinnamon. This is where the popular advice completely breaks down, and the distinction I'm about to share matters enormously for both your results and your safety. There are 2 common types of cinnamon: Ceylon cinnamon, true cinnamon from Sri Lanka, and Cassia cinnamon, which is the common variety sold in most grocery stores. Cassia contains relatively high levels of a compound called coumarin, which in large amounts over time can be harmful to the liver. Ceylon cinnamon has negligible coumarin content and is the safe, therapeutic option. Ceylon cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde and a rich array of polyphenol that increase the expression of glucose transporter proteins on muscle cells, literally opening more doors for glucose to enter, making whatever insulin you have work more effectively. A landmark study published in Diabetes Care found that just 1 gram of Ceylon cinnamon per day, half a teaspoon, reduced fasting blood glucose by 18 to 29% in patients with type 2 diabetes after 40 days. For comparison, metformin typically produces a 15 to 20% reduction. Same ballpark. No prescription needed. Look for Ceylon cinnamon or Cinnamomum verum on the label. Use 1 teaspoon per day, half in the morning, half later in the day, added to coffee, tea, yogurt, or smoothies. Start today. This afternoon. 1 teaspoon. That's it. The third food is apple cider vinegar, and before you dismiss this as a wellness trend, let me give you the actual science, because it is far more impressive than most people realize. The active compound is acetic acid, and it works through multiple distinct mechanisms. First, it inhibits digestive enzymes called alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase, which are responsible for breaking carbohydrates into glucose for absorption. When these enzymes are partially inhibited, you get a slower, more gradual rise in blood sugar after eating rather than a sharp spike. This is the exact same mechanism as a class of diabetes drugs called alpha-glucosidase inhibitors. Second, it promotes glycogen storage in muscle tissue, meaning more glucose gets stored as energy rather than circulating in your blood. Third, and this is the one that stunned me, a study in Diabetes Care found that 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with a high carbohydrate meal improved insulin sensitivity by up to 34% in insulin-resistant subjects. 34% in a single meal. Research also shows that taking 2 tablespoons in water before bed reduces fasting blood glucose the following morning. The rule: always dilute it, 2 tablespoons in at least 8 ounces of water. Drink it through a straw to protect your tooth enamel. Take it 15 to 30 minutes before your largest meal. Never drink it undiluted, the acidity is strong enough to cause real harm to your esophagus and enamel. The fourth food is fenugreek, a golden brown seed used widely in Indian and Middle Eastern cooking that has been quietly revolutionizing blood sugar research for the past 2 decades. Fenugreek seeds are extraordinarily rich in a soluble fiber called galactomannan. When this fiber contacts water in your intestines, it forms a thick gel that dramatically slows the absorption of glucose from carbohydrates, turning a blood sugar spike into a gentle, manageable rise. But fenugreek goes beyond fiber. It also contains a unique amino acid called 4-hydroxyisoleucine, found almost nowhere else in the plant kingdom, which directly stimulates insulin secretion from the pancreas, but crucially, only when blood glucose is actually elevated. This means the risk of blood sugar dropping too low is significantly reduced compared to medications that stimulate insulin regardless of glucose levels. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Diabetes and Metabolic Disorders confirmed that fenugreek produces statistically significant reductions in fasting glucose, post-meal glucose, and HbA1c in patients with type 2 diabetes. One clinical trial found that 25 grams of fenugreek powder daily dropped fasting blood glucose by an average of 63 milligrams per deciliter over 24 weeks. That's a result any physician would be proud of achieving with medication. To use it, soak 1 tablespoon of fenugreek seeds in water overnight. In the morning, eat the seeds and drink the water on an empty stomach. You can also grind the seeds and add 1 to 2 teaspoons to smoothies, soups, or yogurt. Find them at any Indian grocery store for just a few dollars per pound. The fifth and final food is one I saved for last because the evidence behind it genuinely stopped me in my tracks when I first encountered it. The food is barberries, small, tart berries from the berberis plant family, and the active compound they contain is called berberine. Berberine has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for over 1500 years. Modern science now knows exactly why it worked. Berberine is one of the most potent natural AMPK activators ever studied. And in 2008, researchers at Shanghai Jiao Tong University published a randomized controlled trial directly comparing berberine to metformin in newly diagnosed type 2 diabetic patients. The results were staggering. Berberine reduced HbA1c by 2%. Metformin reduced it by 1.8%. Berberine reduced fasting blood glucose by 26%. Metformin by 22%. The study's conclusion, published in the peer-reviewed journal Metabolism, was that berberine is as effective as metformin in blood glucose control. Not almost as effective. As effective. And berberine doesn't stop there. It also inhibits the same digestive enzymes as apple cider vinegar, improves insulin receptor sensitivity, and profoundly benefits the gut microbiome in ways associated with reduced insulin resistance and lower systemic inflammation. Add barberries to rice dishes, yogurt, salads, or grain bowls. They're tart, beautiful, and extraordinarily therapeutic. They're a staple of Persian cuisine and available at Middle Eastern grocery stores and online. Here's your simple daily protocol to bring all 5 together. In the morning, eat your soaked fenugreek seeds with half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in your coffee or tea. Before your largest meal, drink your diluted apple cider vinegar. With dinner, incorporate bitter melon or barberries, or both. Before bed, add another half teaspoon of cinnamon to warm water. 5 foods. 5 minutes of extra preparation. Less than $10 per week. And a cumulative metabolic effect that the research says is genuinely comparable to pharmaceutical intervention. These foods work because your body was designed to interact with them. The metabolic pathways they activate evolved in conversation with the plant compounds in real, whole food. When we stripped those compounds from modern diets, we broke something. Type 2 diabetes was extraordinarily rare a century ago. It's now a global pandemic affecting over 500 million people. Our genes didn't change. Our food did. You have more power over your metabolic health than you've been told. Start with one food today. Build from there. Bring this information to your doctor. Ask questions. Push for a real conversation about food as medicine, because the evidence absolutely supports it. And if this resonated with you, drop a comment below telling me which food you're starting with. Share this with someone in your life who's struggling with blood sugar, because this information deserves to reach them. You deserve to feel well. And more importantly, you deserve to know that feeling well is within your reach. I'm Ava Harper, and I'll see you in the next one.